So
what?
James Cameron's the man.
Well, I mean, if we're looking back at all of his movies, obviously, this is a good one.
Yeah.
You know? But see, this is something that it does...
To me, it's very similar to the Alien franchise in the sense that the first one is actually a little bit more of a horror film. It's not a horror.
Well,
it's not like straight horror or anything, but it is the concept is it's a scary concept.
It's terrifying for sure.
Yeah,
and it has all the elemental bits of like a horror film. And see, this is where Cameron. Some people make fun of Cameron because it's like every movie he does is just big budget blockbuster, but what some people don't give him credit for sometimes is how he does have very kind of simple ideas, and he puts little twist on them to make it really good. And in this was something that Terminator. This was the first time I had seen it in years.
Yeah, it had been for me too. Probably at least 8 years. At least
it was about that for me, and it was nice to rewatch it because it's something. It's so simple. It's in the future the robots have taken over, cyborgs have taken over, and humans have started like a rebellion, and the leader of this rebellion is John Connor. Well, instead of like going back in time and trying to kill John Connor, these robots are going back in time to kill the mother of John Connor.
Yeah.
So this woman, played by Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, she's even more terrified because she's like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And
she's like, I'm not even pregnant.
And yeah, it's like it's your unborn son.
Yeah.
That is who they're basically trying to kill, and it's something. Usually, like I said, in a movie like this, they would just go back in time and try and kill John Connor, which of course ends up being the premise of the second one. But that's what kind of made this one awesome, was because it gave you a bit of this like lore of what's happening in the future, while also combining this like horror element of a literal robot that cannot be killed coming to get her and kill her.
Yeah.
And
doesn't eat, doesn't sleep. It's got one mission.
Yeah, that's all it does.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to. Its only focus is to kill Sarah Connor.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him methodically do that by that was strange too. Something that I forgot about was that part in the movie where he's having to repair himself. And it made me think of Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men, where it's like he took time for himself to get ready to go out and kill again. But you are absolutely right. This is something that it was,
and especially
much more terrifying than I remember.
Especially the last 20 minutes. I mean, the whole movie is he's just hunting them.
Right.
But the last 20 minutes, once they blow up the tanker and it's just him as the robot, and you see, doesn't matter what they do, even once they blow him in half and everything, he is still coming.
Yes. And
it is still coming.
And that's why it's terrifying, because unlike, even though I wouldn't even classify this as a horror. I mean, it's sci-fi horror. But if you look at other kind of slasher films where it's one singular guy going after people, they, in the Jason movies or in the Halloween movies, they're supposed to kind of be a guy.
Yeah.
And
psychopathic serial killer.
Even though Jason's not quite that, but it at the same time, it's the whole time you're thinking,
Freddy Krueger's
why? It's why won't you die?
Yeah.
But as a viewer, you're they should be dead.
Yeah.
And with Terminator, it's so easily explained. No, this is a robot from the future. This is what it takes to try and kill one of these, and it's damn near impossible. And the only reason they're able to do it is that they trap it and smush it down. But even then, it was still putting up a fight. And it's the whole movie, is scary in that way, that he just won't die. It doesn't. I mean, they shoot him so much. Yeah. Kyle shoots him so much.
Yeah, I mean, in the opening when Linda Hamilton's first introduced to him, Kyle
at that bar.
At the bar, he shoots him. I don't know,
with a shotgun numerous times.
Yeah, and it's not doing anything.
Yeah, and then he has that head-on collision to the wall, he just gets up and gets out. Like it's really kind of scary. It's also I do like going back and watching what big time directors or really good directors, what their first relatively big movie was. Maybe not like this is surprisingly.
So Piranha 2 isn't.
Well, from my understanding, he's kind of like James Cameron was like, that was not me. Like he I think he made it, but it wasn't like him. But this showcase, like from the get, that Cameron knew how to make a really good kind of action film.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, he added like a little bit of like twist to it. So another thing I was thinking about, like on my way over here, was the explanation of where John Connor comes from, which is Kyle Reese, who came from the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I thought was really cool, because when you're watching it for the first time, the whole time you're like, I guess she just gets pregnant at one point, and then you start to realize like, oh, she's falling in love with this guy, and then you're like, they're gonna sleep together, and John Connor's gonna be his son.
And it all happens because Linda Hamilton then tells her, because she's taping all the tapes.
Yes.
And she's like, I've debated whether or not to tell you, but Kyle, who you send back in the future, is your dad. So the son knows he has to send Kyle back.
And that's why he gives Kyle that photo.
Yeah.
He gives Kyle the photo to cherish, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing.
I mean, to put it delicately. But it was like, I thought that was a pretty genius bit of screenwriting by James Cameron. And
it explains, well, it doesn't explain Linda Hamilton's love for him, but it explains his love for her. It was a fantasy for him.
I think that's more of, it's not Stockholm Syndrome, but it's, what is that called, where it's like, I mean, she was saved from the Terminator by Kyle numerous times, and I think after like the third time, she was good to go, so to speak. But I think that's it, is that like he was putting himself in harm's way just to protect her. So of course there's going to be a little bit of I guess love for this guy. Like why is he why does he feel the need to do this? And he at no point had the intention of like sleeping with her. It was clear with that. And I think
it's such a simple movie.
No, and
you watch it and
it's good.
It's good.
It's good. Now, the whole time watching it, I kept saying, I was like, the second one's better. The second one's a lot better. But it's because it's a totally different type of movie.
It's an action movie.
It's an action movie, and I mean, we'll get into it when we review the second one. But it definitely was, I wouldn't say strange, it was refreshing going back and seeing just the original Terminator, because I haven't seen it in years, like I said. And yeah, it was just being reminded, like, no, the first one is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's funny that when people talk about some of the best action movies of all time, they talk about Terminator 2. It's got to be up there. And Terminator, the first one, is iconic, but it's not. I don't feel like people talk about it as much as they do Terminator 2, or reference it as much as Terminator 2, except for I'll Be Back.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue the first one is it holds. I mean, it's almost as good as the second one, which it is really good though. I do really like this first one.
Yeah, to me, it's the first one's like, I mean, the first one's here, and the second one's like here. Like it's not.
Okay, to me, but it's not, because even though it's similar, it's same characters.
Yeah, it's two completely
different movies, which is. Again, it goes into like, that's why James Cameron is awesome. That's why he is the madman that he is today. Like, he does these movies that people are like, why is he spending 10 years making Avatar? It's like, well, he made Terminator, Terminator 2, Aliens, like Titanic. He has a certain way of doing things, and his track record has shown that he knows how to make a good film.
Yeah.
And
not only does he know how to make one,
he knows how to make people want to go see it.
Yeah. Well, not even want to go see it. He knows how to make a film people are gonna go to the theater and have a good time watching.
That's true. Yeah. And I mean, this first one has all the trademarks of like Cameron films, where there's just like cheesy lines that I still kind of, not as much, not like Fast and Furious level where I'm laughing the entire time, but there are lines in this one that you do sit there and laugh at because you're like, God, it's so like machismo and like, it is. But it's what makes James Cameron films good. And this is like, if you just want to see where it all started, this is where it was. I give this one, I give it like a B+. Like, I don't think it's like a masterpiece, but I do appreciate what it is. Because, like we said, it's simple, but he manages to make it something a little bit more than what it actually is. And by doing so, he's made like an excellent movie.
Yeah.
But it's, I think I would give this like
No, this is an A- for me.
Okay.
It's in that category. It's so good. Like, I watch it and I'm just, it's an hour and 30 minutes long.
No, it's hour
40?
Hour 40, hour 50.
It feels tight though. And you're constantly on the edge of your seat with what's happening.
Right.
Because at no point is there necessarily downtime.
You mentioned that last night, and I thought that was a very good point, was almost every bit of that movie had a relevance to something that was going to happen later. Or, like, there was no wasted
Either
time.
something was happening or it was about to happen.
Well, no, something was happening or it was setting up. Yes, yeah. It was setting up something, and whether it was important to the story of Kyle and Linda Hamilton or it was relevant to the story of Terminators in the future, and also like the whole setup of something I loved was that the Terminators, they didn't know what she looked like. All they knew was the town that she lived in and at what time she lived there. So Terminator, the first thing he does is get in the phone book and he sees 3 Sarah Connors, and
he just mark them
off the list. And I thought that was really cool how it sets up how Sarah Connor is looking on the news and she's like, okay, that's 2 that have been killed. So it's like, of course there's going to be some anxiety, like, I'm next, right? Like, I have to be the next one dead.
Well, and it's also great because she goes to the phone, it's 2 Sarah Connors, and then she immediately goes to the phone book and looks and realizes
she's the last one.
The last
That's right, yeah. I'm telling you, it's like, things are really simply, it's almost like, I feel like some movies nowadays, people overthink some things, where Cameron keeps things very simple, which some people can complain about, but at the same time, when it comes to watching an entertaining type movie, that's sometimes all I want. I want things that are clever, but also simple, and Cameron's really good at doing that.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much. What would you say is? Last thing I will say. What would you say is your favorite part?
I mean, it's got to be the
police shootout.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was the moment people were like, James Cameron can direct an action film.
Yeah. Well, it was also the moment. It's also the moment in the movie, because up until that point, you've seen him go up against unarmed individuals.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. And he is just mowing down a police station.
And you get a moment where Kyle first stops him he like distracts him while he grabs Linda Hamilton, and then they get caught and they get arrested, and Linda Hamilton's thinking like, no, the police are going to keep us safe, like that they're going to keep me safe. It's like, no.
Well, Kyle, he buys into it because he doesn't want to have the possibility of her getting injured or killed.
And I think he also concedes a little bit like, I mean, it's not the worst place. Like, we're
right.
Yeah, like,
right.
There could be worse alternatives, and at the very least, they're going to try to keep her safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's when you realize how violent and unstoppable Arnold is.
And it's not even that. It's because he does such a good job of portraying that Arnold has no conscience when it comes to...
Well, because Arnold, that's something Arnold is... Like, I said this when we were watching this. I think Arnold, in real life, is an extremely charismatic guy. He's really nice. He's pretty cool. What he, kind of done in his celebrity life is he's really
an
kind of cool.
entertainer.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. But when it comes to acting, I would argue the only 2 movies where I feel like he's good are Terminator and Terminator 2.
And Predator.
But Predator's the same thing.
Yeah.
Where I would argue
what about Kindergarten Cop?
See, that's where that's just, the concept is funny. It's the concept of like this huge Austrian guy is like, oh, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. It's like, no, you're not. It's like, how you spent way too much time working out to be a teacher. So we're not. But that's in Predator. It's the same thing. The first half of the movie, he has those cheesy lines and everything. But the last half of that movie, he's not talking.
Yeah.
And I think Arnold is able to do that well, where he does his nonverbal acting is pretty solid, and
it's good.
And
It's like, and you watch it and you immediately buy in. You're
oh,
like,
I buy it. You're right. You immediately buy into this guy is like, this is a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, I mentioned to you last night, my favorite piece of trivia of Terminator. It's one of my favorite pieces of movie trivia ever. Is James Cameron's first choice, and he was going to choose him for the Terminator, and he was going to choose him, and he decided he thought he was too nice and charismatic, was O.J. Simpson, who ended up being a real life killer. It's insane.
Alleged.
Oh, excuse me, allegedly. Somehow got away with that, but yes, yeah, I would agree. The police shootout scene is the best. Arnold, this is where Arnold's at his best, in my opinion. It's cool to see James Cameron. This is where he started. Yeah, B+, A-.
And we'll catch you next time
With Terminator 2.
T2.
I'm excited for this one. I haven't seen Terminator 2 in like roughly 6 months.
It's been 2 or 3 years for me, but I'm pumped.
It's a good one.